formal coaching. So Ryan and I are doing our first formal coaching session, although we've been back and forth for at least a year or two, I guess, one way or the other. And I've been really looking forward to it. So one of the things I did quite a bit of preparation for this because, our agenda kept getting longer. And,
Yeah, sure did.
which is good. I mean, it's better to have more to talk about than less. But one of the things I was wondering if we could maybe look at 1101 Fulton first, because that might be a quick win for us. And then we could do Pilgrim Quarry second.
Yeah, let's do it.
Would that be okay? All right.
Yeah.
I have some questions for you. I'm going to share my screen with you in a second here. See if I can find out where I was trying to get to first. Yeah, let's look at this picture here. So, I find this a very interesting project. And what you've explained to me is that it's been in some jeopardy and some difficulty for like decades. This is not new.
Yeah, on and off for decades. I'll fill it up with my businesses and some friends' businesses, and then circumstances will change, and then it ends up empty again, back and forth, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so and parking is a problem. I get that. You can kind of see that here. Yeah. And vacancies are a problem. And I'm going to stop sharing this particular screen, and I'm gonna show the other screen here. Just let me make sure I got the right thing up here. Yeah, here's the first floor plan. Okay. So
one thing to add too is I never gave it a great shot either. Like this building has never gotten my full attention.
I gathered that. So if I understand it correctly, you should be able to see the ground floor plan.
Yeah.
I think the one of these bays is empty. I'm not sure which one.
Right now, ground floor is all full.
Okay.
But the big one, the law office, can be moved there.
Who's in the law office?
So the one on the left there it's a friend of mine. It's a lawyer, his wife. There's essentially 3 different businesses, 4 people that have split it all up, and they share in paying it.
So it's like mini offices or something like that, right?
Yeah, it's all broken up into offices.
Yeah, which is not necessarily a bad thing. All right, so that's a law office. A little bigger so we can see it a bit better. So, and then the middle one is, I think, the massage.
Yes.
All right, this is massage therapy. And I'm assuming it's registered massage therapy, not another kind of massage?
Correct.
Okay. And then this one is this one is what?
That is a salon.
Yeah, it's the salon. And what do they do in the salon?
Hair for women.
Right. All right, so that's and again, going back to how many offices are there?
1, 2, 3. 3 normal size offices and 1 large double office. And then like 2 reception areas too. So it's pretty well set up for a law firm that has customers coming in it.
Yeah, that's good. I like it. I'm just gonna start tidying it up a little bit.
And the salon has been struggling to pay recently.
Okay.
She doesn't run the business very well and had some problems with COVID. So they might move out, which gives me even more vacancy. But those bottom spaces tend to rent out pretty easily. It's the top space that I
get the
trouble with. Yeah.
All right, and I'll just put a note here. Struggling. Okay. And oops, I'm gonna save that. And then up here on the second floor, quite a bit of vacancy, right? What's in this occupied suite?
That's a little real estate business.
Are they doing okay?
they're never really there. I don't. They've been there for so many years. They're fine. Seem to be fine.
Well, they're a long-term tenant.
Yeah.
So if I'm reading you correctly, and as a coach, obviously you're in charge here, not me, but if I'm reading you correctly, I think this is one of the assets that you want to get rid of.
Yeah. So I was working on that before our call, and getting rid of it would be ideal. I struggle with the fact that I haven't given it proper attention,
Yeah.
and selling it as is, the only buyer will be a real value add buyer or the perfect owner user. So I'm struggling with just letting this thing go for cheap. It would feel like a loss that I don't know if I can
I didn't
swallow.
say that you would let it go for cheap.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm not. If my dad were still alive, Ron, he would say, "What did I teach you to buy high and sell low?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the answer is no.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that you should let it go cheap, but this is just my gut reaction, okay? And if you want to keep it and animate it and bring it to life on your own, fine. I mean, let's do that. But one of the things I found with projects where your heart's not in it, you're not really passionate about it, you know, spending more money, buying the property, the house behind this, or buying the property next door to add parking to it, or making major renovations, probably not a great idea.
Yeah. That would be hard to do. Yeah.
I mean, you would, every dollar you spend on it, I'm getting the impression you would be a little, you'd be frustrated, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Unless there was some major upside, which I don't see.
well, we're going to talk more about it, and we're going to work through it because I think that's important. All right, so now we know. We'll go back to this screen here, and so what I thought we could usefully do together is do a spreadsheet together, which will tell us a little bit more about what strategy you might want to use to sort of sell this thing, because I don't have to tell you, you're experienced. Selling is telling. So I was wondering if we could create a powerful story and paint a great picture of what's possible with this building, and then maybe find the right person, the right realtor to tell that story and sell this thing for you at the right
Mhm.
price.
Mhm.
I have found I've sold businesses and I've sold real estate that people said these are impossible business. I've sold businesses that lose a ton of money and sold them at a profit. I've sold buildings that pretty much everybody else said was hopeless because I was able to create a great story.
Mm.
All right, so let's just try and build a reconstituted pro forma. All right, we'll just bang one out here, okay? So we on the ground floor, we have the law office with all of those little. What are they paying in rent?
I have a pro forma right here.
Well, just read it to me. It won't take us very long. Trust me on this. We're gonna work through it. What are they
Do
paying
you want
now?
the rent of each one?
Yeah, the
So
law office. Yeah.
the law firm is 1,700.
Okay. Is that triple net?
No, it's gross, modified gross, so they pay for their electricity.
So it's semi-gross.
Yeah.
All right. You understand the difference, right?
Yeah.
All right, per month. Semi-gross and 1,700 semi-gross. They pay what? Okay. I guess I should spell it right. I don't think your spelling's much better than mine.
No.
I noticed that. All right, so that's the law office. The massage therapy.
Massage is 1,370.
Is that semi-gross too?
Correct.
And they pay electricity, right?
Yep.
Okay. Oops. All right, and then we've got the salon. Right.
1808.
Hmm?
1800.
Same as above?
Yeah.
All right, so that's the first floor. I doubt there's a basement here, right?
No basement.
No basement. Okay. I don't think there are many basements, at least that I know of in California. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, it's uncommon for
Yeah,
sure.
it's uncommon. Yeah, I lived in California when I was a young fellow. I liked it. All right, let's try the second floor. All right, on the second floor, we've got the real estate biz, right?
Yep. And they pay $750.
$750. Jesus. 750. Is that semi-gross?
Yeah. Yeah, everyone's semi-gross.
All right, I have to check. I'll send you a copy of this once we finish it. But you'll see where I'm going in a minute. You just have to be patient. Won't take long. And then we've got vacant suite. I don't know, I'm just going to call it vacant suite. What does OL stand for? OL7, OL5, OL5. I'm not sure what that means.
Yeah, I'm not sure. So
this one here, the bigger one is 656. Move that over, square feet. Do you know? Yeah, well, it doesn't matter. So vacant suite 2 is 478 square feet. Vacant suite 3.
for that 478, I just leased it up a couple days ago for $700.
So which one did you lease up?
For the 478.
Oh yeah, and how much are you getting for that?
700.
And that's good. And oops. And
I put them on month to month. They were willing to sign a 3-year lease, but I decided to put them on month to month because I wanted
wise.
to.
I think that's
Yeah.
wise. All right.
I want to keep it in a sale position.
100%. And who are they? What do they do?
A wholesale car dealer.
Thank you. All right. Vacant suite 3 is 459 square feet. That's, I better put that in here month to month. All right. Vacant suite 3, and then we've got vacant suite 4, and that's a bigger one, 612.
Yeah, I do have someone on there paying $850 right now, but they're going to leave within 6 months. It's my old insurance company that's in there.
That's okay. We'll put it in there for $850. Okay. Oops. All right. All right. So right now, our total rent is this. Okay, let's sum that up per month. Does that look about right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And what are your operating costs? And
28
sorry.
2850. That is without the mortgage.
Yeah, I'm not interested in the mortgage because we're doing cap rates, right?
Yeah.
All right. So that's our operating. What are your property taxes?
Oh, so that is a part of my operating cost here. Let me see. So
That's okay. I'll just say included above, right?
okay.
Okay. So current net operating income is simply the sum of that. Okay.
Yeah.
Does that look about right? And we multiply that by 12. And that, oops, that didn't work. Sorry. Let's go and equals, I guess it would be better if I did this, equals this times 12. All right, so that's per year. And what is the fair market value cap rate? You know, if you were selling a building today, it's in this is Sacramento, yeah. So the fair market value cap rate,
Price. Let's
probably
say
gone down a little bit.
yeah, it's
Sorry, gone up a little bit.
it was 5 for a while. It's probably 6. This as much as 7.
Let's say it's 6% just for the
Yeah.
hell of it. So this gives you a fair market value, which is pretty crappy actually, equal to your net operating income divided by 6%, correct?
Yeah.
So that's, you know, that's pretty horrible. What is the mortgage on this right now?
I pay
Not how much you pay, what is the total dollars owing?
85,000.
Oh, not very much. 85 grand. Okay, that's the amount owing, okay? All right. So let me ask you this question next. All right, let's just go back to the picture. And I'm going to ask you something. So if you know, I'm a big animation guy. So if you were going to animate this building, how would you do it? So now I'm asking you for your fantasies. You know, if
Yeah.
if you were sitting on what is it, Elon Musk kind of money, right? What would you do with the damn thing? What's your dream?
So based on the street and proximity to some nice neighborhoods and a lot of density of housing, there's tons of office space, but retail is strong. So I would double down and focus on the retail presence.
Okay.
I would get rid of the law firm down low and try to move them up.
Wait a second. The law firm is on the ground floor, right?
Yeah.
And they should, yeah, absolutely, they should be on that. But there's no elevator here. Do they have a lot of old clients who can't get up the stairs?
Not really. They don't have a ton of walk-ins for the most
probably
part.
these days. I mean, you don't really walk in on your lawyer, do you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like this. So you would focus more on the retail space, and this would be office space. One of the things I did check was the zoning, and the zoning does allow residential. Would you ever consider putting some residential units on the second level?
If the neighborhood was better, yes, but it's not a great neighborhood, so apartments just don't get that much rent. If this was downtown, absolutely, but this neighborhood's a little bit sketchy for living. It's more commercial and apartments.
I did mention to you that I owned a plaza in a dodgy area as well, and one of the things I did was once a year I would hold you know, like a barbecue in the parking lot. I'd invite all the young tough guys, and there were lots of them, and I'd feed them. I wouldn't give them anything to drink, but I would feed them and play. We'd have some music, and I'd always give them some kind of presents, you know, like frisbees or something fun, you know. And they started to look after my plaza after I did it for a couple of years, you know.
Yeah.
That was the end of graffiti and vandalism on this building. I mean, there were other buildings that were vandalized and broken into, but not mine. So there are some things. I mean, I don't know enough about Sacramento, and I don't know enough about this neighborhood, but there probably are some things that you could do. I'm not saying you personally, because you're probably going to sell this, but the new owner would probably try and pacify the neighborhood a little bit. Do you not think?
It's weird. It's like right on the border, so it's like near. It's not a terrible neighborhood. It's just kind of a sketchy little walking street. So It's weird. It's not like in the ghetto. It's right next to one of the nicest neighborhoods, but it's just right on that border, you know?
Is there a shortage of rental accommodation in Sacramento? Because there's a lot of homeless people there.
Um, Housing has gotten hit. Yeah, like there's a shortage of housing. Sacramento's has a lot of homeless, and it has um I think housing is needed more than office. There's definitely a surplus of office space.
That's what I'm
Um,
thinking.
yeah, I just think the upstairs there is 3,000 square feet. So if you got 3 apartments out of it, I worry you'd end up with this almost the same amount of rent, but it would take a huge lift to
Yeah, but
convert.
again, it's not something that you are going to do. It's a part of the story,
Gotcha. Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
What?
someone could see that vision, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, when you buy something, a piece of land, a building, whatever, you have a vision for it, right?
Yeah,
And you fall in
definitely.
love with that vision, correct?
Yeah.
Even if sometimes it doesn't make financial sense,
Yeah. Well,
right?
on the flip side of that, I'm looking at a commercial building and I want to build luxury apartments on top of it. So
There you go.
yeah.
So you understand where I'm coming from. Okay. So I'm
Yes.
going to call this case one. All right. And now I'm going to version it, right? So I'm going to do case two. You'll see where we're going now. All right. So it gets a little easier as we go. I'll change the color here. We'll give this one a green. Okay. So it's case two. So these rents are really not that great. How big is the massage therapy place? I mean, how many square feet is it?
It is, let's see, it says right there, it is about 1,000, 923.
Oh yeah, I see it now. Okay, thank you. So, um, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go down here. It's easier. So we have net operating income of 51,840 for this building. Uh, yeah, well, yeah, okay. No, I have to go back here. You're right. Okay, so massage therapy is 953 or 923.
923, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And the salon is 1144.
It is 1144, yeah. And the
Okay,
law office is 1368.
thank you. All right.
Yeah, I think I calculated it more out of market rent of 1.5.
Yeah, we're going to get there. So it looks like your operating costs, okay, if you do this, makes up, this is just an approximation, that looks about right. Um, your operating costs are about 40% of your total rent. Normally, most of the commercial or mixed use buildings like this one, I can bring them in around 30 to 34%. So this is a little bit higher, which means your rents are a little bit lower, basically. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're just going to go back here and we're going to take this, the 1,700, and we're going to multiply it by 39.7%. So we get operating costs that are attributable to the law office of about $650, which means your triple net rent is kind of that, about $1,000 a month. And if you multiply that by 12, you get about that. All right. Now, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to figure out what your triple net rent is. Okay. And it works out to about $9 per square foot per year, triple net. Okay. Now, I own buildings in some bigger cities and some smaller cities, and I cannot tell you, I do not have a single retail space that is rented for less than $20 a square foot triple net, even in small towns. So what that tells me is your rents are too low. Now, maybe there's a whole lot of reasons for that. Maybe the neighborhood sucks and all the rest of it. but it is also adjacent to you know, a well-to-do neighborhood. I'm not, this is not a criticism, okay? But that is a low number.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because I mean, downtown, I don't know. Well, San Francisco's degrading so quickly, I don't know. But downtown in a good spot, it wouldn't surprise me if people were getting $30 or even $40 per square foot triple net for retail space. You're getting $9,
Yeah.
approximately. Okay. And for the massage therapy, let's just figure that out. Equals this times our 39.7%. Means our triple net rent from them is not very much. Is that per year? We just multiply that by 12. Are you following all of this? It's pretty simple stuff, eh?
Yeah.
And
The only
Go ahead.
only thing is, are the operating percentage of operating costs being inflated because of my vacancies? So if we,
Oh, without a doubt, without a doubt. Yeah. All right, without a doubt. But it won't matter because we're going to completely redo this. All right. You'll see where I'm going in a minute. I think that's a strong point by you. Oops, I can't be right. All right. So then we'll call that case 2. Now we're going to version it again and go case 3. All right, case 3. Get rid of that. Okay, so what if we were to decide that somehow or other you could get, for retail space, if you put some effort into it, I'm not saying you, but the new buyer put some effort into it, could he get, or she, could they get $18 a square foot, $16 a square foot? I'm talking about triple net now. In other words, the tenant pays the operating costs and the property taxes and the utilities above the base rent.
I don't know, because a lot of the brokers that have been showing me comps and stuff, they've been doing it as a semi-gross.
So you know that in commercial, I mean, a triple net rent is a very powerful, helpful thing to a landlord, and we're just trying to tell a good story. So I want to put a number in here, triple net, and it's got to be better than $8, $9, $10, $11. I just don't know what that should be. $16.
Yeah, I mean, we can go off of that. Yeah, it's both of my commercial, well, one of my commercials triple net, but it's completely passive for me. Someone else manages it. The two things I manage are buildings like this that are,
Yeah, we're going to change that. You know, your coach is going to help you change that. All right. So,
yeah.
So would 16 or 18 make sense?
Well, what would that be if it was a gross
So,
amount
so
of
typically, okay, let's say we go, our goal is $16 per square foot per year triple net. And typically for a plaza like this, you would add at least another $10, if not $12 for operating costs, plus utilities, plus property taxes. Okay, so that would be, I'm sure, at least another $10. All right, so you're looking at, you know, probably something like 26 gross. That would include power. But in actual fact, you know, I'm gonna up this to 14, just because that is a number I see a lot. That would be gross. That would be absolutely gross, not semi-gross, but gross. All right, that would be typical. You know, because operating costs, I mean, you know, power isn't cheap in California.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's just try this, okay? We'll try it and see where we get to. Don't forget, we're just creating a story here. So now, instead of $1,700 per month, we would get, for this space, we would get $1,368 times $16 divided by 12. We would get $1,824 per month, and that would be triple net. Okay, so I get rid of that. You'll see where I'm going. It's going to make a difference. So we'll try 923 times 16 divided by 12. And we'll try this one. This again times your $16 and divided by 12. So there you go. I guess because this guy is there and this guy's there, we'll just leave them for now. And vacant suite 1, which is a good size. I'm just saying, with 656 square feet, that's a very nice 1-bedroom apartment, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm just saying it would be.
Yeah.
What could you rent that for?
1-bedroom apartment, that area, 1,700, maybe 1,600.
All right.
Say 1,600 probably.
All right, 1,600. And then we've got another one here, vacant suite 3, which is 459 square feet. That would also be a studio apartment, or could you get a 1-bedroom in there too?
Small 1-bedroom maybe is possible.
I'll put the studio.
I'd probably go for a studio with that
Yeah,
unit.
I would too.
Yeah.
So what would you get for a studio there?
$1,200.
Okay, and these are all semi-gross. Or this one is semi-gross, as I recall. And do you charge your residential tenants? That's bad. Do you charge your residential tenants electricity?
Do I typically? Yeah.
Yeah. So this will be semi-gross, right? Fine. Equals semi-gross. All right, and vacant suite. This one would be a studio. We already did that. That's the real estate biz. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. So now, what do we have? We have to do this because this is triple net. So this is not comparable. As you know, this is not comparable to the semi-gross stuff. So now we're going to end up with just these guys, sum these up. All right, so that's per month, and that's semi-gross. All right, put in a couple more. All right, so now we've got this amount, but that's for the whole building, right? Do you know what the total area is for the second floor? It looks like it's, how big is the real estate biz on the second floor? That's 581 square feet. All right, so we know this is about that. And this guy is about that. So our total area is equal to this plus that, right? And so the second floor is about 44% of the total. Does that seem about right?
Yeah.
Amazing. All right. So what we have to do is we have to deduct 44% of these costs from our second floor rents. And that gets us a different number. Insert sheet row. So we've got net operating income for the second floor is that. All right. And the net operating income for, we don't need this anymore. No, just net operating income for the whole building now is this plus this, because now we're fantasizing. Okay. And we don't need that anymore. So that becomes 0. And that's no longer relevant. And that's no longer relevant. Okay. And all right. So now we get a more interesting sale price. Do you understand?
Yeah, let me look at this real quick.
I want to make sure I did it right. Yep. That's a much more interesting number. I'm going to send you all of this, and don't forget we got a recording, so we're recorded for all of eternity on YouTube. So now I'm going to ask you the cost of rentals. Okay, so in terms of rentals, what we've done is we've renovated this suite, and we've renovated this suite. Okay, we've only put in 2 residential apartments. One is a studio, one's a. What do those rentals cost? And if you put in a studio apartment, would you spend 30,000 on that? More?
I'm just thinking plumbing.
You need plumbing. You need micro kitchen, a bathroom, a shower.
Yeah,
not
electricity is easy. Everything's pretty easy. Just
the plumbing's
plumbing.
Yeah,
that's a big boy.
So we'll say the studio is costs. I'm not making you swear on a Bible here that you have to, you just have to give me a sense of what you could do to create a nice apartment there. Maybe it's more, maybe it's 50 grand.
Yeah, I'd say 50.
All right, so let's say it's 50. And the 1 bedroom?
It's probably about the same.
I'm going to go
60.
65, because you got a little bit more, you got some drywall to do and stuff like that.
Yeah.
All right. So now what we have to do is we have to subtract this minus this from our new fair market value, because whoever the buyer is going to spend 115 grand, making this dream happen.
Yeah.
All right. So now we get an asking price, asking price of this. So just a question for you: if you could get, say, 1.7 million or 1.8 million for it, would you sell
it? Yeah.
Right. So this is the kind of thing. So realtors, Ryan, are permitted to do a reconstituted spreadsheet like I just did. They are permitted to doing that as long as they identify it. They can say, look, here's the existing condition. Our current owner is not very interested in this plaza. If I were the selling realtor, I would say, look, Ryan has other fish to fry, and he hasn't really paid enough attention to this. But if you pay attention to this and you spend $115,000, maybe $120,000 on it, this live-work condition is very popular. You know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
People really like the idea of, think about LA. I lived in LA for a while. I lived in Palos Verdes, if you know where that is. And it's quite nice. And the idea of, working at Hughes Aircraft, this is a long time ago, that's a hell of a commute in LA. At 2:30 in the morning, if you're 30 miles away, you think, oh, 30 miles on the freeway, it's 30 minutes. Not so. The rush hour in LA, at least when I lived there, was like 24/7, right? It didn't matter what time there, there's always somebody, the shifts were ending. And I remember I was visiting my cousin who lives in Hermosa Beach. And I thought, we were there, we were playing poker with the boys. And, I said, I'm 30 minutes away. An hour and a half later, I finally got to my apartment, right?
Yeah.
So what we're trying to do is trying to paint a picture here. And what you need is a realtor who understands that he's going to do a reconstituted spreadsheet and say, look, Ryan has not paid a lot of attention to it. It's been in the family for a long time, but he is thinking about selling it. If you do it right and you write the proper leases, triple net leases, if you're a commercial landlord, is the right way to go, because if you're paying somebody's hydro, if you're paying somebody's operating costs, if you're paying, all the other costs that go into it, in your case, you don't have any snow removal, but you've got to repair the place, you've got to maintain it, you got to pay the property taxes. Are property taxes going down every year in Sacramento?
No, that's for sure. No.
I doubt that. Do they go up like 2 or 3% a year, 4 or 5%?
2.5, because we have Proposition 13, which.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
but I'm always appealing it because they're constantly trying to jack up my rates. Yeah.
I saw that. You weren't having much success with it, though.
No.
No, that's okay. You're gonna. So, do you have a good commercial realtor that you can trust?
The thing is they all seem pretty. They want to do the bare minimum. So I've interviewed 3, and I've been in real estate long enough, and I used to have a small residential brokerage, and I just the energy is, let's just get it sold. Fastest path to commission.
Yep.
And zero interest in leasing. Like they just.
Yeah, 0. 100%. So that's not the realtor you want. So how are you going to find a better realtor?
Yeah, that's one of my questions on this one.
So I'll tell you what I do. I hire young realtors who are hungry and have no experience. I mean it. I've got my group is very small. I mean, it's tiny. I have 1, 2, 3. I have 4 realtors working with me. One is 27. The others are in their the other 2 are in their 30s. And I do have one older realtor that I like and trust. He's younger than me, but not much. And his name's D.A. McMillan. And DA is older, and I don't ask him to do, the stuff that, requires a lot of running around. But I do trust him to prepare offers and to, to look at things and make sure that they're done right. He's very good at that. His detail work is excellent. But the young guys, I train them. And the reason for that, Ryan, is I do not want people around me with negative energy. And it doesn't matter whether it's a contractor, a realtor, a lawyer, an appraiser. I don't have anybody around me that has negative energy.
Why do maybe the older guys have negativity versus the young blood? Just so I understand too.
Well, so look, I have to be careful what I say because I'm 70, so I, this is the pot calling the kettle black for sure. So I apologize to all the older realtors out there, and no, there are lots of people who are in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s who are very go and positive. But for everyone, I think, at least in my experience, right from 40 on to 80. For everyone that is kind of go and positive, there are probably 8 or 9 that are jaded as hell. And I just, I don't have, so after I left the Senators, the Ottawa Senators back in the day, and that was 2004, I guess, maybe 2005, I literally fired everybody I was working with, all the appraisers, planners, contractors. I didn't really fire them. I just didn't use them again. And I replaced them with younger people. because many of them had built up the, I had a real estate business that was worth $1 billion at the time, until I bought a hockey team. But the real estate company was very, very successful. But those people got older, and as people get older, not everyone, but many people get lazier.
Yeah.
And you've already found that. And so how old are these realtors that you're talking to?
One of the guys that I'm most inclined to hire, I actually knew him in high school. He's more my age.
And how old are you now?
35.
35, yeah.
And I think, although he has less experience than the other guys, he is the one who's following up with me. He's engaged. Whereas like one of the other brokers, I almost have to fight to get his attention.
That is of zero interest to me. Like, I have people who do environmental studies for me, and who do, septic designs and well designs and everything. I mean, the real estate business has a lot of consultants in it.
Yeah.
And if they don't respond well on email or text, like for example, a lawyer wanted to work with me, and it was a young guy, probably your age, maybe a couple of years older. And I said, well, his name was Matt. And I said, Matt, can I have your cell number? Oh, I don't give out my cell number. I said, oh, I didn't know that. Well, I can't work with you. He said, what do you mean? I can't work with you. The stuff that we do, you and me, in the real estate industry, we're dealing with millions of dollars, sometimes tens of millions of dollars, even hundreds of millions. Certainly in my case anyway, tens of millions as opposed to hundreds. But we're dealing with large numbers. And if something goes wrong, I have to be able to text you. I have to be able to call you. And I don't call, how many times do I call you? Not often. How many times do I text you? More than I call you. But you see where I'm coming from. So I fired him before I hired him. And so you should, and every single person that you contact, have you noticed how I do my email addresses?
Your addresses? What do you mean?
My email addresses. Well, let's just see. I'll just show you. I was just about to prove myself a liar. Hang on. So this is my screen here. So Frankie Oliver is a client of mine. All right. And do you see how his email address pops up? It has his name, his cell number, and his email address. If you have those three things, that's awesome, right? Because that gives you all you need. And then I was about to show you how smart I am, and then I went,
hey, there we go.
Sure enough, you saw there, for some reason, my email system, oops.
Yeah, I see my number in there though, yeah.
Had your number there, and then for some reason it doesn't show up. So I'm proving myself to be, not as smart as I thought I was.
Well, it's partially right.
Partially right, thank you. So the reason I show you that is when you hire a realtor, you hire a lawyer, you hire an appraiser, a surveyor, you ask them for three things, and try and set up your email system. What email system are you using?
Google.
Yeah, try and set it up. So if you look in my emails, most of them, my email system, I use Outlook, thinks that, Frankie Oliver's name is Frankie Oliver 613 blah, 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 and that the email address is whatever it is, right? So cell numbers show up in most of my emails, along with name and of course email address. And that's a very powerful way of providing information. And I have people who call me up after getting email and say, oh, can you give me Frankie's cell number? And I said, can you look at the email again? And they go, oh, it's there. Yeah, it's there. So I would encourage you to do something similar, because if you have those three things, you pretty much have them, right?
Yeah.
And when people say, oh, look, I'll just give you my office number, I say, no, I'm not. When was the last time you called up, a number extension 222 and got an answer?
Oh, it's horrible. I don't even call that.
No, I just say, no. So if people say, I won't give you my cell number, I say, okay, I use Mr. Trump's 2 words, you're fired.
Yeah, totally.
I do. I tell them, you're fired. And they go, what?
Yeah.
I said, no. So what I would say, what is the guy about your age? What's his name, the realtor?
Casey.
So what I think you should do is think it through. You've got those 3 spreadsheets now on your email. If you feel comfortable doing it, share it with Casey. Okay.
Yeah.
And if you want, you could add Casey to part of our call next time, if you want.
Okay.
And what we're going to do is we're going to give Casey a good story. And what I would suggest you do at this point is nothing more, nothing. I mean, if there's garbage on the site, you have to clean it up, right? You with me on that?
Yeah.
If there's garbage anywhere, if you know, if a tap is broken, you know, if there's a leak somewhere, you got to fix that. If somebody put a hole in the drywall, you have to fix that. So you have to make sure the building is super, super, super clean. And when I walk into one of those vacant suites, there's not a lot of shit lying around. You with me on that, Ryan?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so that's, I mean, I have sold buildings that everybody said was impossible to sell, but and they're old and they need a lot of help, but the outside is perfectly done. You know, the grass is cut and there's no garbage anywhere, and if there's any damage, you know, just the cosmetics, okay? And then inside, when I go into that, you know, vacant space, there's not, you know, garbage lying around on the floor, old furniture overturned. There is nothing in there, you know. And if you have to, you patch the walls and you paint them off-white, you know, just a, you know, an off-white, so people can visualize what the space might look like if it was renovated. And then what Casey has to do, with help from you and me, is create a fabulous story, how you can pacify the neighborhood, how you could add a live-work condition. And there's one other thing I wanted to mention to you. Does that sound like a reasonable plan?
Yeah, I'm taking notes here.
Okay. Well, don't forget you have the recording. It's coming too, so you could share parts of the recording with Casey if you felt comfortable doing
Okay.
that. It's only if you feel that way. But
Yep.
but I know how to sell buildings. I've sold hundreds of them, you know, and I bought many buildings, and so have you. So you've got experience too. But it'll work. And then you have, between you and Casey and me, and I'd rather you know, I don't want you and Casey to do it on your own. I mean, if I'm your coach, I want to be in the loop. Okay, so if Casey said, "Look, I'll sell it for $900,000," well, no, we're not selling. I mean, that's easy to do. I could do that from Ottawa, right? You know, you could pay me the commission, but no, we want Casey to work for his commission by telling a great story. And the way to tell a great story is to say, look, with some 150, maybe $120,000 of renovations, you can create this amazing place next to one of the best neighborhoods. Yes, it's near a bit of a dodgy area, but we've got some ideas on pacification and making friends even with some tough people. You know, you buy them a meal.
Why do you think not a ton of agents tell a really good story? I mean, this building that I'm interested in at $7 million,
Yeah.
they just kind of, I see so many places that they missed an opportunity to get their price.
100%. Well, first of all, look, I'm a real estate broker, so this is kind of going to sound terrible again, but if you can't sell cars, used cars, and you can't swing a hammer, you become a realtor.
Mm-hmm.
It is the last stop for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And so you get, I don't know how many realtors would there be in Sacramento?
Everyone's a real estate agent in Coeur d'Alene. Everyone's a real estate agent.
Yeah, so 2,000, maybe 3,000.
Yeah.
Out of those 3,000 agents in Sacramento, I'll bet you 50 or 60 of them make $500,000, $800,000 a year.
Yeah.
And I'll bet you most of those are beautiful young women selling houses.
Yeah.
So when a guy who's 55 and a bit chubby says, "Oh, you know, I'm going to retire from the military. I'm going to get my real estate license. I got to make a ton of money." I go, "What are you going to do?" "Well, I got to sell houses. You know, look, I could sell a $900,000 house. I get a 2 or 2.5% commission. I can make 20, 25,000. I can sell 10 of those a year. I'll be set." Right. Until you notice that your competition are 25 to 35-year-old women who look fabulous, certainly a lot more attractive than you and me, to be fair.
Yeah.
And they go door to door, and who buys houses? It's women.
Mhm.
And women like to deal with attractive women. Of course, men like to deal with attractive women. You know, a 55-year-old former military man he's out of luck. Now, it's
Yeah.
different if you do the kind of work that I do, where you're coaching and you're dealing with commercial. We have, you know, maybe 80 commercial agents of any scale in a place like Ottawa, which is about 1 million people. But those 80 people, I think there's 76 of them, maybe even more, are men, right? And that works. So if somebody's
Yeah.
a former military guy and he wants to go to Sacramento and practice real estate, he better be an investment realtor. He better be a land guy. He better be a building guy.
Yeah.
Because if he thinks he's going to get into residential and make a lot of money, even a young guy your age would struggle against that female competition. And that's the nature of the world. You know, you can't, you know, if you're a young, beautiful woman, that paves the way. You don't even have
Yeah.
to be that smart. So what I'm saying is that realtors, for a lot of them, it is the last stop. They don't make very much money. I bet you 95% of the agents in Sacramento make almost no money.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you know, it's like everything else you do, you have to find a great legal mind, you know, great consultants, and certainly a great realtor in every town that you're operating in, and that takes time.
Yeah.
And if Casey is the guy, you can train him, and I can help. All right,
All right.
but I
Appreciate
want
that.
somebody who's got positive energy and says, "Hell, let's." And now, I'm not saying you have to get 1.8 million. Is there sort of a number in your mind below which you would not sell?
Well, every broker has kind of come in at the $1 million marker, 950, 1 million, because that would be
Yep.
kind of an easy
Right.
sale. That's just pound for pound square footage. Um, I would be okay even at 1.2, 1.3. So I don't need to get to the 1.5 to be able to sell this thing. I mean, if there's a way to tell a story to get to 1.5,
Yep.
amazing.
Perfect. But what we have, do you know what anchor pricing is?
Anchor high, so you got room to
Yep.
negotiate.
Anchor pricing is this. I do this with appraisals. Okay, say you were an appraiser, and I would say, look, you know, you're going to appraise this building. You know, I think it's at worth 6.2 million. And right away that puts an anchor in your head. Firestone thinks it's worth 6.2 million. God, I thought it was worth like 4. So I just did this yesterday, actually, with an appraiser. I've been working on him. You know, I've been kind of working him over, you know, giving him a few kidney punches. Um, and you know, I anchored the price. I think I said 6.4 million. And I sent him a spreadsheet saying, oh, no, I think it's worth 6.4 on an income basis. And he was like flabbergasted. But I got, or at least I think I'm going to get an appraisal just over 5. And he started at 4 million. So an appraisal that's up 1 million.
Wow.
Do you understand? That's anchor pricing. And you'll see
Yeah.
it all the time. You know, hey, listen, I could sell you a set of Ginsu knives. They're $1,000 in the store, but I'll sell it to you for 4 easy payments of just $150. You know,
Yeah.
and so the anchor is 1,000,
Yeah.
and the sale price is 150 times 4 payments. You know, buy now, pay later kind of thing.
So, you know, what's interesting? I've been thinking about this in terms of this will probably be for our next discussion, but in terms of the real estate, like what are my skill sets and how should I apply them to real estate? It seems like a lot of the things that I used to do for my marketing company, my real insurance brokerage, for my online digital company, like that's one of my skills is marketing. A lot of those things aren't applied to real estate for whatever reason. Like they're not applied
Man,
well.
the fact that you said that blows my mind. If I had any here, it'd be standing up. That's really good, Ryan. No, that's really good. You should stop there. What you just said is very important. Almost nobody merchandises real estate.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say hardly anybody buys suits anymore. I mean, when was the last time you bought a suit?
I don't
Yeah,
no
you know,
suits.
I mean, you know, I've been dealing with tech guys for, you know, well, a long time, and they come
Yeah.
in with their cut off jeans and their ratty t-shirts, and they're worth hundreds of millions of dollars. So,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, I don't think I ever saw Steve Jobs in a suit.
Well, I used to wear a suit every day, so I was excited to get out of
Yeah, I
it.
told my wife when I die, do not bury me in a suit. I said, I'm okay with a nice t-shirt. Okay, honey.
Yeah.
So no, but let's say you and I went to a very nice men's store. There's still a few around, and we were buying, nice suits today. You'd spend, $6,000 on a nice suit today if you were doing some kind of nice interview or something like that on CNN and or Fox News. So you'd buy yourself a nice suit. But if we went in there and the suits were lying on the floor covered in dust, they might be very nice suits, but you probably wouldn't buy anything. That's
Hmm.
how people sell real estate.
Yeah.
And what we were just talking about a few minutes ago about making sure it's super, super clean and neat outside. If there's a hole in the asphalt, you're going to patch it. If there's a hole in the drywall, you're going to do that. You're going to make sure that when you go into those vacant places, if the light is out, you're going to make sure it's on. Lighting scenes are very important. What we were talking about is merchandising. So all of the skills that you have in marketing and everything else you've done in your career, if you apply to real estate, you will sell for more, you will rent for more, and you will be much more successful. So remember that it's merchandising. And I do a
Yeah.
lot of that too. And something else I teach people is that it's probably the last 3%, 5%, maybe even the last 10% of the money you spend on every real estate project that is the most important. I can't tell you, Ryan, how many people I deal with where they finish the building, but they don't do the landscaping, or they finish the building, but the ceiling tiles aren't in, or they finish the building and the lighting scenes aren't complete, right? And they say, well, what kind of ran out of money? It doesn't really matter. It matters hugely. I mean, think about the homes that sell best. They have these beautiful treescapes. They have this great landscaping. It's the last few percent of money you spend on any project that really counts. Like when you show an appraiser through your building, he or she, they're mostly guys, don't know what the hell you put in triple brick, you put in safe and sound insulation, so the apartments are super quiet. You went to all the extra work on the structure. They don't see any of that.
Yeah.
What they see is, the lighting scenes and the landscaping, the beautiful paint, and maybe a piece of artwork you put up somewhere. It's the last few percent that count. All right. So that's all part of merchandising. And make sure that
That's a really good point. I wrote that kind of as an aha. Like but I just did a commercial remodel and we did the siding hardy, painted it nice. The
beautiful.
structure looks beautiful. But the last 10% is left to do, and I can tell my guy doesn't even want to go there. He doesn't want to finish it up. And I'm kind of like, do we need to finish it up? It's already full. But it wouldn't cost much for landscape and just some facade cosmetic stuff.
You're on the right track. If I invited an appraiser to appraise one of my projects, maybe I built a triplex, and I will not get an appraiser to come in until that last 3%, the last thing is done. Appraisers are more like women, even though most of them are men. If they come in and they see something's not finished, maybe you didn't put the baseboard on, you just, oh, don't worry, we'll put that on. Your appraisal value will sink 10 or 15% just because you didn't put the baseboard in, because he will be just like a buyer, like a female buyer. You know how particular women are. You should try and please my wife. It's not easy. She is very, very, very picky. And so an appraiser comes in and he sees that it's not quite finished. He says, I wonder what else Firestone didn't do. I wonder what else Hughes didn't do. So if the landscape is not finished, the asphalt isn't done, or the pavers aren't finished, or like I said, all these other things are not done, your appraised value will crater.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so finish. And I love that idea of finishing the other project. So just to look again at this number, so if you sold, I'm not saying you would sell it, but if you sold it for 1.8 million and it's about, I don't know, 6,200 square feet in total, I guess, that works out to, I'm just going to share my screen one more time. We're going to get on to the pit next, okay? So we don't spend all our time on this. You'll give me a heck if I do that. But I just did this number for you. that works out, if you've got 1.8 million, that works out to $292 per square foot, okay? As a sale price. You see that?
Yep.
What would it cost to build this thing here? To buy this land and build this thing?
200 bucks a foot, 1.26, 1.7 to 2 million.
That's what I think. To buy the land, and I don't know, what is the land development process like in Sacramento? Does it take a year or two to get a building permit?
Yeah, it takes time. Yeah, definitely a year for
Yeah.
something like this.
It might even be
Minimum.
2 years by the time you get the building permit out of the dam. You
Yeah.
know, California, didn't you call it like some kind of communist haven or something?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
I mean, I know California pretty well, and I like it. You know, I do, but I understand it's we call it the left coast. I'm sure you call it the left coast too, right? Because they're kind of left wingers.
They sure are.
And there's a lot of friggin' NIMBYs in the area, right? Oh my God.
Yeah.
You know what a NIMBY is, right?
What's a NIMBY?
Not in my backyard. You know, the
Why is it-
neighbors who complain about every development.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they're called NIMBYs. I'll just write it here. You know, that's the term. You should know that term, all right? NIMBY. It stands for not in my backyard.
Yeah,
All right?
everybody's a NIMBY.
California has, you know, like, you know, I've got clients in Texas, man. They go, yeah, I'm gonna build a, you know, 2 million square foot fulfillment center here. Yeah. How long is that going to take to get approved? I probably get it in 3 or 4 months, and they do. In California, if you were about to get, I mean, Elon Musk left California for Texas for a reason, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know that he relocated to Austin, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're all even.
Yeah,
I mean,
you
I left happily, so I get it.
well, I have a client who owns he bought a lot. This is a few years ago now. In the Mission District, it was 50 feet by 100 feet. And it was owned for a sixplex. What do you think he paid for a 50-foot by 100-foot lot in the Mission District? This is before the pandemic.
Zone for a 6 unit?
Six units, yeah.
150 is 800,000.
I would have thought so. 2.5 million.
What?
Yeah. And he built, and when he did that, I said, "Oh my God, are you gonna be able to make any money?" And surprisingly, I mean, for a 2-bedroom, this is again before the pandemic, he could get between $7,500 and $8,000 a month in rent. And believe it or not, I mean, he lives in one of the sixplex units, and the other 5 are rented up. Believe it or not, it actually has a cap rate of about 6.5%, or maybe it's even 7. I don't know if it got to 7, but something like that. So he did
That's
okay.
outrageous. Yeah.
But I mean, $2.5 million for a 50-foot lot. You sure as hell aren't paying that in Boise.
Wow. Yeah, it's
Right?
crazy.
But today, by the way, he moved out. He rented his apartment and he moved. He's about an hour north of San Francisco. He couldn't stand it anymore. I mean,
Oh, it's
you're
horrible.
walking over dead people to get to your apartment.
Oh yeah, it's horrible.
It's
horrible.
just terrible. It's terrible. He just
Yeah.
he's still in California, but he's an hour, 45 or 50 minutes north. And
Let me ask you this on the cost to build. So
yeah,
that I look at properties so much from an income cash flow perspective, like
right.
just because I've always only bought anything based on cash flow, and I survive off a lot of this cash, right? So rarely do I say, well, what would it cost to build? But I think that's a way that I need to think also.
Exactly.
What would it cost to build this? And
Yeah,
at least
so
have that number as like an anchor.
I'm telling you, if you could buy this land, and don't forget, a year or two of planning costs you money.
Yeah.
I mean, there's significant cost to hire planners and architects and everything else. If you could build this damn thing for $300 per square foot, I'd be amazed.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't surprise me today with all the stupid regulations in California, and not just California, that it might cost you $350. So I just want, I'm gonna send you this one spreadsheet that I've changed, okay, again. So you're gonna get, I send you 3 spreadsheets with an email, and this one I've revised, so you know, you have to delete the other one. You understand?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so there we go. Again, so I'll just title this again. But when we talk to, when you talk to Casey, you have to, this is what I call a reality test. You say, Casey, what the hell? What did it cost? So it's probably at least 1.8 million. You said between 1.7 and 2, which is about where we're at. So 1.5 to me looks like a bargain.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the things you should ask Casey to do, could you take a note to this, is to do some CMAs, comparative market analysis.
Yeah, I got that.
So he can say, yeah, I mean, I'm talking about cost to build, right?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, we got to move on now, otherwise we'll run out of time.
Last comment on that one is,
okay.
if I'm going to try to tell the story of what's possible with regards to tenants and rents and all that, the paint job alone, which is not that much to repaint that building. I got a great painter, he's cheap. Do you think I should do that kind of stuff? Just paint and facade, because cosmetic.
Only
just so
if Casey is willing to fight for a $1.5 million number. If Casey wants to sell it like every other lazy realtor at 900,000, I'll do it for you from 3,000 miles away. I mean, it's stupid, okay? So Casey has to be willing to fight for 1.5. If he does the right work and he shows, look, the cost, I mean, he should just talk to a contractor. You can talk to a contractor and ask the contractor, listen, what would it cost to build this sucker? And he or she is going to tell you, oh, Christ, by the time you buy the land and everything else, it's going to be $350 or $400 a square foot. So the proper way to analyze it, and Casey will know this, is you look at the cost to replace less depreciation, because this building is older, right? It was built in '62. So there's some depreciation. So let's say it was $350 and there's, $50 or $70 of depreciation on the building, then you're back to about 270, which is 1.8 million. We're only asking 1.5. But so Casey should talk to a builder friend, or you can talk to a builder friend and just say, look, if you had to replace this, what would it cost to replace it? And any contractor worth his salt will tell you, oh yeah, Jesus, that's $300 for the building, another $50 for planning, and another $50 for the land, or whatever. It could easily be 400. And that's a very powerful argument when you're selling it. That's part of our story.
Beautiful.
All right. Now, one last thing. I did make a list of
you might have just made me an extra couple $100,000 there, Bruce.
Well, I want you to, really, I think you should sell it. To be honest with you, I would put it on the market for 1.55 million. That would be my number. Then you have to pay him a commission. What kind of commission do you offer somebody like Casey?
They're typically 3%, 2.5%.
Yeah, so 3% or 3.5%. So they make some money, which is good. They make 50 or 60 grand, and you'll hopefully get about 1.5 million, and then you'll have to pay some capital gains tax, I imagine.
I would probably exchange it.
Yeah, you might do that. Anyway, yeah, I'm sure. Well, listen, the whole thing is you should. Last year, maybe it was 2 years ago, I reread some of the Robert Kiyosaki stuff. And I've been bad-mouthing Robert unfairly, as it turns out, for a couple of decades. Because,
really?
Yeah, because people will come, they'll go to a rich dad, poor dad, thing, they pay, seminar, back when you could actually be there in person. And they'll call me up and say, Mr. Farstow, you know something about real estate, don't you? Well, yeah, a little bit. Well, can you find me a 100-unit apartment building that I can buy that has at least $100 per month free cash flow after paying everything, including my mortgage, so I can make $10,000 a month. It has to have no deferred maintenance because I don't want to do any work, and it has to have great property management because I don't want to do any work. And oh, by the way, it has to be a no money down deal.
Good luck.
I'll say to them, did you just go to a rich dad, poor dad conference? How did you know? So what I was basing my criticism on, Ryan, was that people don't understand what Robert Kiyosaki actually means. His very first condominium that he bought in Honolulu, it was $45,000, and he had to come up with $4,500. He didn't have any money, so he borrowed that money from credit cards. That's not a no money down transaction, because credit card companies have a nasty habit of wanting you to repay them. So he borrowed it from his credit cards and he put that down, and then he did a good job, animating it, leasing it to a good tenant, moving cash flow up. And then a year or two later, the value went up a little bit. He refinanced it, and then he took his money out. So what Robert's really talking about when he talks about no money down deals is over a period of time. Not no money down, because there's no rich Uncle Buck who's going to write you or me a check for $1 million, go out and find a 100-unit apartment building, right? There's no such thing as a free lunch. So that part I didn't really understand. And the other part was, in 2012, Robert wrote a book called Why Fast Money Beats Slow Money. And I read that thing 3 times, because he's a very smart man, but I don't think I was really getting it. And finally, it dawned on me what he really means. And what he means is that you should look through your portfolio every 2 or 3 years. And if you've got buildings that have sort of peaked in value, they're kind of plateauing, and that cash flow is okay, or maybe not okay, but it's just so-so, and there's no prospect of going up. But the value has gone up. You should sell those buildings and redeploy your capital into something that has faster appreciation and more cash flow. And he's right. So fast money beats slow money. So I have had a complete turnaround, because I'm a buy and hold guy, and I applied it to myself. So starting about, I guess it was probably 2020. So the last year and a half anyway, I've been going through my portfolio and saying, this is going, this is going, this is going. And I've been selling these properties for stupid amounts of money and redeploying it into assets that have greater appreciation and stronger cash flow. That's what you're going to do.
What's just so we can reference that, why slow money and fast money? How is it slow versus fast?
So slow money is buy and hold without any change. That's slow. Fast money is when you look through it. Say Ryan has a portfolio of 20 buildings, and he says, this building's gone up in value, but it's kind of plateaued, and it doesn't have great cash flow. But it has, I only have a little bit of mortgage debt, and it has lots of equity. I'm going to sell that. I'm going to redeploy that equity. So the speed of your money is increasing as you sell. So you're not going away from the buy and hold mentality. You're still a buy and hold guy, but you're a buy and hold guy with a little bit of an additional cash engine. Am I making any sense?
Yeah, I need that perspective change, because, and I recently have already been moving in that direction. I thought I was just going to buy and hold, buy and hold, buy and hold, buy and hold, and it's almost kind of like a slow and a little bit lazy, is what I found out about myself. Like, oh, it's just trying to not have to do anything with the building and not always be finding deals. But this is why I know it's critical for me to start a real estate company.
Yeah.
In a sense that I'm always having a finger on the pulse and getting opportunities so I can move cash. Right now, there's tons of stuff I need to sell,
right?
But I don't really have an in to redeploy properly. So I need a redeployment strategy.
There's always, I completely trust you to figure out how to redeploy capital once you've generated that. I'm sure we can do that. I mean, as long as I'm coaching you, I'll help you with that. And after, you'll just do it on your own. So Robert is I badmouthed him for a couple of decades, and I apologize to Mr. Kiyosaki. Fast money beats slow money, and it's a book he wrote in 2012. And I suspect that the vast majority of people who've read his stuff, like myself included, did not really understand what he was talking about. I had to read it 3 times. Anyway, that's where I think you're going. And this one here is even more important to sell because you're not passionate about it.
Yeah. 100%.
All right. So we're going to sell this thing, and you have to be in the mindset, Casey, we're selling for 1.55 million or very close to that, and you are going to help me do that. You're going to between you and Casey, we're going to find out what a contractor, and if you can, you get a piece of paper saying, look, this is it's called a C-level budget. Okay. An A-level budget from a contractor is one where you can actually sign the contract, and you have a reasonable expectation that he'll produce the building at that level. A B budget is probably within 5 or 10% of the final price. there's still some areas that are allowances. A C-level budget is somebody's experience. And so it would be fantastic if somebody could say, look, dear Mr. Hughes, you know, if you were to buy this property and build it, I think it would cost $300 for the building, so much for the planning and financing, and so much for, you know, the land, and you'd be in for $400 times whatever. You'd be in for $2 million. Signed, you know, Bill Smith. That's a very powerful sales tool.
Mm.
All right.
Love
Okay,
it.
so there's
Very
one
good.
more thing. I did make a list of some of the stuff that that will make a part of the story, and I'm sort of going on a little bit long, but I loved your idea of a beauty focused you know, place. I think that's part of the story. The salon, the massage, the physio, the yoga studio. You know, you've got those rich dudes, all those ladies up the hill there somewhere. They love
Yeah.
yoga. A dispensary, if you know what a dispensary is.
What's it?
A dispensary is a small boutique pharmacy, drugstore, but they tailor their products to individuals. So it's a little bit different. It's not your typical, you know, huge drugstore chain, which sells, they all sell the same stuff. A dispensary you'll come in and say, look, I'm a little bit down. Oh, you need, you know, try this little potion here. It's a dispensary. They're small.
Got it.
So I think you're looking at, you know, the stuff that you talk about, the salon, the massage, the physio, the yoga, the dispensary, the nail bar, all of those things, fantastic. The other thing I checked is that your zoning allows a childcare center. And again, if you've got all those rich ladies not far away, what do they want? They want to go to the spa. They want to get their nails done. They want to get their hair done. They want to do some yoga, and they want to drop the kid off. Okay? I mean, it's just part of the story. You're not going to do a goddamn thing, but it's part of the story. I want to make sure that's in there. And one other thing. You're going to think this is funny. And this has got to be the last thing, because we got to keep going here. So I wanted to show you this picture. You're going to laugh, but it worked really well. Let's see if I can share my screen one last time. This also, I think, is allowed by your zoning, and I think it should be part of the story too. So this is a building owned by Homestead. It's they're one of the bigger landlords in Ontario. They have, I think, 30 or 40,000 rental apartments. Okay, that's pretty big. And they are like you. They hate commercial. They hate commercial. So this is a Homestead building, and can you see they have commercial here? Yeah. So I coach these guys, and you know, I mean, I coach former students who are buying their first investment property, and I coach some bigger guys too, like Homestead. So they have this huge portfolio, and this commercial stuff that you see at grade in these buildings are a requirement of the city. The city, it doesn't matter whether it's Sacramento or it's you know, Boise, or I can't even say the name of the city you live in. I forget its French name.
CDA, we call it.
Yeah.
CDA.
All right. So the cities require the ground floor to be commercial. They say because it livens up the street, but that's not why they do it. It's because in most cities, they get more property taxes from commercial. Okay. So they basically, the mayor and the councilors and the planners and all these people who work in these cities, whatever city you're in, they lie to your face, right? They say, oh no, it's to liven up the city. Nothing could be further from the truth. It's about money. So anyway, so always. So Homestead has all these buildings, and they've got vacancies. Like their rental properties, their residential rentals are like 99.5%. You know, they have virtually zero vacancy, but the commercial is like 30-40% vacant, and the others 60% or 70% that's rented is rented at shitty rates, like kind of your Plaza, right? So what I did was I said, I looked at their zoning, and their zoning allowed hotel. On a lot of these main streets, you're allowed hotel. So I said, let's put residential apartments in at grade. And they said, what? We're not allowed to do that. I said, yeah, you are. You have in the zoning, you have hotel use. In your case, you have bed and breakfast. It's right in the zoning. I checked. Yeah, bed and breakfast. And so what we did was we started to renovate all of their ground floor buildings for Airbnb. Okay. And the city of Ottawa, the city of Kingston, they're active in the States as well. These cities, they went berserk. I said, well, wait a second. Airbnb is regulated under the Innkeeper Act. And it's a hotel. It's just a different name for it. They call it. Airbnb is now the biggest hotel operator in the world by far. And so we converted a huge amount of their portfolio at grade, and they've become very, very good at running Airbnbs at grade.
Wow.
Very good. And their profitability, they think their coaches, well, they send me a nice bonus once a year at Christmas time. They do.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Well done. That's awesome.
And you have that same zoning. So you can tell a wonderful story, and it's and the cities don't like it, but we told them, look, we're within our rights, and in one case they actually litigated it, and the city just, it was horrible. It went to divisional court, and the judge just about threw it out. I mean, he took a roll call that was in there, and then he rendered his decision just on the written submissions. We didn't even have a chance to actually have a trial. He just threw it out. He said, this is ridiculous. It's within their rights. It's a commercial use. That's it. I find in favor of the defendant. And I turned to our lawyer. I said, are we the defendant? Said, yeah.
The short-term rental ordinances gives the city so much power because they make up these new ordinances accordingly. Yeah. So yeah. I wanted to convert a little 400 square foot grade commercial building into an Airbnb, and it didn't meet the ordinance. So,
yeah, well, they do. I don't know if Sacramento has ordinances on Airbnb. They might do. But there is another way to get around that. And that is an augmented tenancy. Oh, before I forget.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We talked about that.
Yeah, but before I forget, on September 14th, if you could put this in your calendar, if you want. I know you're not taking the home run course, that development management course I'm doing. But on September 14th, I have 2 guests coming to the lecture, and right now it's 4:36 p.m. my time. What is your time?
1:36.
Yeah, so it's 3 hours difference. Yeah, I thought so. Okay, so it must be some other kind of screw up. So anyway, on September 14th, I'll just make sure I got the date right here. September 14th at 11 a.m. my time, which would be 8 a.m. your time. I hope that's not too early for you.
No, I'm a 5 a.m. guy.
Yeah, I'm up early as well. So I've got 2, they're both about your age. I think Aaron's maybe a little bit older, but Brad Cartier and Aaron Markle are coming to be guest lecturers in the course. September 14th at 11 a.m., 8 a.m. your time. And what they're going to talk about is their 6-plex, 10-plexes that they built. They're building 6 of them now. And these are guys I coach, but most of the guys, well, all of the guys I coach, because I'm kind of choosy, are really, really smart. And these guys are going to talk about how they control the construction costs, how they deliver projects on time and on budget, but also they're going to talk about, because Brad is a tech guy, he's huge in Airbnb. He works for, I think, a company in Texas. And they're going to talk about how augmented tenancies and other things are pushing their cap rates up on these 6-plexes. And I think you should be there.
I would love to.
All right. So I'll make sure. I don't have the link yet, but when I do it, so it's part of the home run course. And you need to be there. Okay.
Cool.
So with augmented tenancies, what we do where the Airbnb is not allowed because of the local ordinances is we go to one of the tenants in the building and say, it could be a commercial tenant, and say, guess what? you're going to rent the Airbnb from the unit from us, and then you are going to, rent it. So most of these ordinances, whether it's Toronto or Austin, require the person running the Airbnb to be on site. So if you have a commercial tenant or even a residential long-term tenant, he or she, they can sublet that, and you do no work, but you get a percentage of it.
Got it. Yeah.
Right, so there's
Cool.
a workaround there. All right, now we got to talk about this this quarry. All right, I'm sorry it took us so long to get there.
That's right.
So Pilgrim, just a strategic question for you before we get into all the detail, because I've been through it all, at least I think so. It's a pretty big site. It's over 400 acres, I think.
Yeah, correct.
And I looked at the zoning for this place, and I really liked what I saw. I think this is it here. I'm going to share my screen with you. So this zone is, I thought was tremendous. Wait, that might not be it.
No, not that one.
I think it's this one.
Yeah.
R1A district single family residential. So this is a fantastic zone. Single family dwelling, home occupations, crop and tree farming, general farming, wholesale operation of nurseries, greenhouses, etc. Pasture for grazing, feedlots, poultry farms, dairies, any structure, building equipment incidental to the uses here, farm and forestry, recreation uses. Are you familiar with agritainment?
No.
I'll talk about that in a minute. Wine tasting rooms, vet clinics, animal hospitals. I mean, just incredible number of uses. So one of the things I should show you what agritainment is, just so you know what it is. It's part of your learning process. So I get rid of that. And it's very close to Sacramento. Like your site is like 48 minutes away.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'll show you. This is one of the groups that I coach. It's called Saunders Farm. And this is a small farm. It's about 40 acres. So similar to the minimum size of property that you're talking about. And this was a failing pick your own strawberry farm in the 1980s, so a long time ago. So, people came to realize that picking strawberries in the hot sun is really not that much fun. And so this was owned by Bill Saunders and Ann Saunders, and they came to me and they said, look, our farm is not doing very well. We can't make enough money, can't feed our kids. What are we going to do? And I said, do you guys know what agritainment is? This is like, it's got to be 40 years ago now. And they said, no. I said, well, it's a big thing in the States. It's when you have agricultural land and you add some entertainment uses. Okay. And so they turned Saunders Farm into this incredible place with mazes and camps, Christmas stuff, Halloween stuff, the Fright Fest and everything else. It has become a phenomenal success. And
Wow.
what you should do is you should write down the word agritainment. It's just AGRI, tainment.
Yeah.
And just check out, there are thousands and thousands of farms in the States and in Canada that engage in agritainment. There's a thing called the Farm Stay Network where people could come to a dude ranch and they can learn how to ride a horse. They can learn how to take care of chickens, whatever. Are you familiar with this Netflix thing? I don't know where it is here. I'll see if I can find it. Maybe it's here. Yeah. Are you familiar with this Netflix film, The Biggest Little Farm?
No, I don't think so.
Can you watch it?
Yeah.
It's I'll send you the link. It's on Netflix. I'm pretty sure it's still there. It's a story of two young people in California who leave the big city and buy a farm that is It's not even a farm. You know, if you take a shovel and you try and dig a hole, it's like digging through concrete. There was no water. The soil was complete. In a period of a few years, they changed everything. So, from a strategic point of view, in order to put pressure on, you know, some of these people, these buyers, you could say, look, I got 400 acres. I could put 10, you know, biggest little farms here on 40 acres each. I could put 10 of them there approximately, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think you could sell the vision of 10 little big little farms for? What do you think you could sell that to for people who are like now 45 or 50 minutes away from Sacramento?
I have no idea.
I'll bet you it'd be quite a lot. Do you have a realtor who knows something about agritainment and you know, this kind of thing, or no?
There are some agents in the area that do focus on like wine, agriculture, farms, stuff like that. About a year ago, I talked to one of them.
So I think, listen, this is just a strategic thing,
Yeah.
but it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, what is the land like to walk on? I mean, I've got a visual here from you know, from Google, but I don't know what the land is really like.
It's nice. Part of it's really nice. Nice trees. It's got a underwater aqueduct for water use, and yeah, it's.
Do you have water taking rights?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen with you. So if you wanted to scare the bejesus out of your neighbors who are doing heavy lifting, can you imagine if they had 10 wealthy micro farms, you know, next to them? You know, we talked about NIMBY a few minutes ago. If they're doing blasting and kicking up dust from trucks, they're not going to like that idea.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to get whatever the price is, $5 or $10 million for this thing, or whatever the number might be, you also have to have what's called a BATNA, BATNA. Can you write down BATNA? BATNA stands for Best Alternative to a Negotiated Agreement. Okay, I never go into a high stakes game like this without having my BATNA position worked out. So what I would ask you to do is contact somebody in there. I think you're going to get, this is just a guess, but I'll bet you can get $850,000 for every 40-acre biggest little farm that you could sell. I'll bet you get 850 grand for it. And if you got 10 of them, that's $8.5 million. And you don't do anything. You divide up the land and you sell it to people. And at least in my experience, people don't care if they have to go along these little roads. In fact, the worse the road is, the more isolated they are, the better they like it, to a degree anyway.
Yeah.
And if you've got water from the aquifer and you've got beautiful trees, and I want you to watch that Netflix thing, I'd like you to just spend some time sketching out a plan of what it would look like to have these 400 and whatever acres and 10 beautiful little farms sold to rich dudes who want to pretend they're farmers.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to scare the hell out of the quarry operators. To me, that's your best alternative to a negotiated agreement.
Totally, I get it. Yep.
And what goes on each 40 acres? Okay, I sketched it out so I wouldn't forget. You want to just take a note again. What goes on each 40 acres is a farmhouse, and the farmhouse has a lock-off suite, because every farm house will have, you know, like a site supervisor. Like if you're a rich dude, you're not actually taking care of the chickens. You got a site super. So you've got a house and you've got a sort of a lock-off suite, usually a 2-bedroom. All right. So you have a monster home and you have a lock-off suite where your site manager is. Okay. Then you have a coach house where the ranch hands stay. Okay. So it's a coach house. I don't know what you call it in California, but that's what we call it here. Then you have, some fun stuff like a playland. You have your pickleball court and you have your bocce court and you have all that fun stuff, right? So you have a playland. You have a chicken coop, right? Or maybe you're raising goats. I don't know. You have something like that. You might have some glamping on the damn thing. You have your friends come over and they can stay in some glamorous camping thing. There's all kinds of things that you can do, including some agri-tainment uses, because there'll be at least one person out of the 10, if not two, who will do some agri-tainment, like what Saunders Farm does. They have mazes and they have kids playing and whatever else. That's quite a profitable. I mean, Saunders Farm attracts close to 1 million people a year.
Wow.
Yeah, you wouldn't want 1 million people a year here, but Saunders Farm does very, very well. So that's your alternative. If this whole deal with these quarry operators, so they don't come in with a number. So let's say you could get 850 times 10, you could get $8.5 million. You can say to if that's the number you want, you can say to the quarry operator, listen, and you should get a nice sketch done. I often hire, like a graphic designer to, you do the plot plan, let me see it. And we get a graphic designer just to do one beautiful thing. That's a sales tool if we ever actually do this, but it's also tremendous leverage over the quarries. And be a nice, beautiful drawing. You'll pay $1,000 for, best $1,000 you'll ever spend, because that's how we can negotiate and put pressure on these guys. Does that make any sense?
Totally. So one of the other thing is, so my ideal buyer is the adjacent quarry.
Yep.
Just because it's easier.
Yep.
And doesn't I don't know, fight with road access. But one of the other alternatives to them, and I said this on the call to them, and there's 5 of these guys, of their executives essentially talking to me because they're very interested. And I said, one of the reasons why they should buy this is because if they don't, they're going to have competition next door.
100%.
And the guy looked at me and he flared up and he got red and he said, hey boy, can I give you some advice? Shouldn't put that in your presentation. Like it triggered him.
I'm sure it did. Like, people, these people play rough. I mean, these are quarry operators, that. So you have to be careful, eh? You have to be careful.
I know, I saw that.
Personal safety is really important for you and your family. I know you're very family oriented and you want to be around to see your sons grow up.
Totally, yeah. So I could just tell it was a hardball reaction because
I think you can't threaten them. They don't react well to threats. So that he perceived that as a threat. So what I would say what I do in these negotiations is I ask them. I say, well, what do you think if we can't come to some kind of agreement? What do you think about us maybe, because I was thinking maybe we could just use it for a few hobby farms. What do you think? And I actually have a picture here. What do you think of that? So you ask them rather than threaten them. Right. I learned that approach from my wife, because as a younger guy, I was a bull in a china shop like you were, or you might still be. But I learned not to do that because I work with some, hey, listen, some of the owners in the National Hockey League are mobsters. I won't mention any names, but some of them are connected.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them have these buildings that seat 20,000 fans, and they still have cash drawers. In other words, they don't have cash registers, so they just make change, right? So it's all cash, and they can take out $3.5 million of cash every event. And they host, some of these places host 150 events, so you can imagine how much money you can put through that place, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, totally.
If you're connected, it would be in the billions. So it is, that would not be something that we're recording this, so that's not something you would want to make public, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So don't show this to anyone else. But what I'm getting at, you do have to be careful. So I never threaten those guys because of the
I just put it as a line item. I thought I was stating the obvious. Like
it is obvious, but they take it as a threat. And
yeah.
you don't want to make enemies of your neighbors, especially those guys.
Totally.
Okay, so you
Totally.
just simply say, listen, what do you think? I mean, look, maybe it shouldn't be quarried. Maybe it's beautiful. Maybe we should just do something like maybe 10 hobby farms. Or what do you think? They might swear at you, say, "What the? That's a fucking horrible idea. We don't
Hmm.
want to have 10 crazy rich dude neighbors who will be opposing the blasting and everything else we do and the crushing, and that's a terrible idea." Okay, I didn't realize that. Play innocent and say, "So what do you think?" But you should ask a local realtor what you could get for, and you have to paint the right picture. So it's not just 40 acres of barren land. It's 40 beautiful acres with water. It's the biggest little farm. It's agritainment. Don't tell me that there aren't 10 rich dudes in Sacramento who want, a weekend place like that. Like I'm not rich anymore, but I have friends. I have a friend who is still with the National Hockey League. He has a 50,000 square foot home in Florida. It's a ranch that he gets to, like, twice a year, I guess. And it's so big. The house is so big. He has those two-wheel scooters, the Segways, so you can get around the damn thing. And I'd never been on a Segway. It was fun. Have you ever been on a Segway?
I have not.
You know what it is? It's like it's
Yeah.
only got two wheels, right? And you lean forward, you go forward. You lean left, you go left. It's pretty
Yeah.
cool. So these are wealthy people who have ranches in Florida, in Central Florida. They have ranches in Arizona,
Yeah.
all over the place. And California. Are there forest fires in this area?
No.
So that's a great advantage, right?
Yeah.
The fact
Yeah.
that half of California seems to be burning.
Sure does. So from the two buyers that I have are the big guys, right? Vulcan's very interested. They're the number one aggregate company in the United States. And I want to just run through this with you. My processing of it is, I want to at least de-risk. Like, I want to sell it or de-risk to where I kind of know what the price is. For example, I get someone in contract for a certain price, contingent on me doing the EIR, and maybe they pay for half of it. Maybe they'll pay for 500 grand. I'll pay for 500 grand.
With all due respect, Ryan, that's a bad idea. You want to just sell it. The amount
just sell it.
Yeah. Listen, I do a lot of work with pits and quarry operators in the States and in Canada. I do. Wow. Getting a quarry approved in California, that's a process you do not want. You'd rather go to the dentist to get your teeth drilled.
Yeah.
You do not
Well,
want
it's been bad. It's been a rough 5 years. So
I got a quarry that I'm working with now. We're in our 9th year of approvals. We're probably going to get it next year, but it'll be year 10. You're going to get old doing this, and you're going to spend ridiculous amounts of money. Absolutely do not want to do that. If that were the route you're going to take, I would just do 10 friggin' hobby farms, sell them for $800,000 or $900,000 each, and get rid of the damn thing. Make $8 or $9 million that way. A lot easier. I do not think so. So what I was going to suggest is that you open serious negotiations for. I mean, would you be happy with $8 million?
Yes.
Yeah. So I would say, look, I do some homework so you know what your BATNA is, right? You know what you're an expert now in BATNA, right?
Yeah.
So you know what your BATNA is, and say, look, I guess, I mean, this might be a bad idea. No, you tell me, but I can probably get $8 or $9 million just dividing it up and selling it as 10 hobby farms. But I think it's worth between 8 and 9 million, and I'll sell it to you. And then they might come back to you and say, well, we only want to give you 4 million. Okay. And you say, well, look, I'll take 4 million, but what I want is I want a royalty on every ton that you take out. All right. So, how much rock do you think there is on this property? Do you have an estimate of it?
It's 80 million tons.
So 80 million tons. You say, look, I want 10 cents a ton. And over time, it'll give you another $8 million. So if Vulcan said, at 10 cents a ton, I mean, Jesus, they can afford that, right?
Yeah.
And so you say, look, I'll accept 4 million, and you give me a royalty of 10 cents a ton. But you also have to put in there a take or pay clause. Do you know what that is?
No.
Okay, take or pay means that even if they're not producing, they have to pay you a minimum amount.
Got it. Yeah.
Because otherwise they might say, well, that motherfucker Ryan, he wants us to pay 10 cents for on 80 million. That's $8 million. It'll be the last part of our property that will develop.
Yeah.
But if there's a take or pay clause, then look, maybe you're going to get $8 million over the next 40 years. That's
Yeah.
kind of typical. So what you would say is, look, I'll take $4 million now and a 10 cent a ton royalty on the 80 million bucks. I'll make some money over the next number of years, but I want a minimum royalty, right? And let's say that's 20 years. It would be like $200,000 a year for 20 years. That's another 4 million bucks. No interest on that, just a royalty. So you're paying me $4 million plus $200,000 a year for the next 20 years. And I'll get my 8 million over 20 years. I'll live with that. But that's the minimum. If it's 10 cents a ton and it goes to 80 million tons and it's $8 million, and I don't care if it takes 60 years, you've got kids. So that'll be like your annuity and your kids' annuity for at least a couple of generations, because it takes a long time to get through that.
Yeah. So my current BATNA thought was the fact that I have the adjacent, and then I also have other people who would be interested. Do you think I should be trying to negotiate and get multiple balls going at once, just so I have options?
That's a really good question. So is Vulcan the one who's most interested, do you think?
I think Tykert is, because they're adjacent. They see this being a big slam dunk for them.
Yeah. So I might be inclined to use the other BATNA that I just suggested, that do a little bit of homework so you're not just spouting off. You got to have some evidence that from some credible guy that, look, I could sell your 10 40-acre hobby farms. Like the big little farm, I don't know what it sold for, but it sold for a lot. And so you have that, and then I would go, what's it called? The one who's right next to you, what are they called again?
Tykert.
Okay. Tykert?
Tykert, yeah.
Okay. I would go to Tykert and I would say, look, you're next door. I'm going to start with you. If you're interested, we'll negotiate seriously. I'm ready to sell. And what might help you is, if you want, is to add me to a call, if you Zoom call with them, if you want it. I mean, that's the kind of thing that a coach can really help with, even if I'm only there for 20 minutes, I could say, look, Ryan is thinking of some alternatives. He's not sure if that really makes sense, but he's done some homework, and he's got some ideas, which I think are interesting. But really, since you're next door, it probably makes sense for you to buy it. But it's 80 million tons. It's probably worth 10 cents a ton, so $8 million bucks, and then they could bitch and moan.
With the anchor pricing, the appraisal that I got is between, call it 7 and 20 million. So if we said like
bigger range though, you can't show somebody an appraisal that's got that kind of range to it.
Yeah, he did net present value based on different scenarios, like negotiable. So
what you need to get from your appraiser is, and that's good. He did net present value. That's excellent, and that's very helpful. But what I would like is, I'd like to have, I would go back to the appraiser and say, this is great. Can you give me one number that you think is responsible? If you do net present value, you're between 7 and 20. Maybe it's 12 million. I mean, but it can't be you, Ryan. It can't be you saying it's 7 to 20 million, and so that
totally
has no credibility.
He'll give me the most likely, and I think the most likely is going to be about 12 or 13.
That was my number too. So he comes back and says, look, I think the net present value of this thing is 12 million, and he puts it in writing to you. You're going to show that to your neighbor. You're going to have this other plan, do a nice color plan. It'll be fun to do. And that's your BATNA. And so rather than pitting these guys against each other, which can be pretty friggin' rough game, you would say, look, I'll negotiate with you exclusively for a period of time, not forever. If we can't make a deal, we can't make a deal. But I think it's worth 12 million. My appraiser thinks it's worth 12 million. My coach thinks it's worth 12 million. But we'll have to talk about it and see what we can do. 12 million is only 15 cents a ton, and they'll come back to you with the kind of deal that I was talking about. Well, we'll pay you a small amount of cash, and we'll give you a big royalty, and you'll say, I need more cash, and I'm okay with the royalty, but I need to take or pay. I'll help you with it. Okay.
So I know we got to cut on time. I'll probably just put together a little plan and email it to you, just get some feedback. But my only question on that is to start my plan in the right direction is, do you think put the 12 million in front of them?
So I would
and wait for their response before I say too much.
I wouldn't do it by email though. I would call. Do you have somebody you can call?
Yes, definitely.
And say, look, I'm doing some homework, and I've got an appraiser. He's working on some stuff, and I've got some other ideas. I don't know if they're viable, but just lay the groundwork. Okay, so listen, and then I would say in that call, because you're my neighbor, I think it makes most sense for us to do a deal.
Yeah.
And if you agree, then we'll enter into some kind of negotiation, and we'll just be the two of us. I will not pit you against anybody else. I'm not interested in that. You're my neighbor. It makes the most sense. And if we can't come to an arrangement that you're happy with and I'm happy with, so be it. But let's try. And you say, that's great. And look, when I get that appraisal done and some of the other stuff, I'll forward it to you. And then how about we have a discussion? And if it's okay with you, I'll bring my friend and coach in, and he's an older fellow that I work with. You don't have to mention I'm Canadian, because most Americans think that anybody who doesn't live in the States is really stupid. Right? I actually had a girlfriend who was a producer for NBC in New York. She's a beautiful young woman. Well, this is before I was married, and she didn't know I was Canadian, and I was living in California at the time. She was in New York, and we had a great relationship. And when I told her I was Canadian, eventually, I don't know how it came up, she started to talk to me more slowly. I said, did my IQ just drop? And she said, what do you mean? I said, that relationship was doomed at that point. That's funny. So don't mention I'm Canadian. I won't wear my Sens hat. Just
that's
I'm your
really
coach.
funny.
Yeah. But it's true,
Yeah.
Americans, I love America and Americans, but they do kind of think that the world ends at the borders of the United States.
Oh yeah, I know. I know that. I've seen that plenty.
But it is what it is. I mean, America believes in American exceptionalism. You know that, eh? Mr. Obama as president, Mr. Trump certainly, I guess Mr. Biden too. All the presidents do, and it's the justification for the United States taking a leadership position in the world, which we need.
Yeah.
So I think this is really good first session.
It has been.
I think it has been. And I'm going to download this to my computer. I'll put it on YouTube, and I'll send it to you so you've got it. But let's go and see if we can get $8 or $8.5 million for you for the quarry. That'll be a really neat deal.
That would be a neat deal.
And let's see if we can get 1.5 at least for that friggin' plaza. I think we can.
That would be incredible.
And you've got to remember, because it's been in your family and it's been so wrapped up in negativity for a long time, that's affecting you.
Yes.
Okay. So you got to put that aside for now. We're going to sell that sucker. Okay.
All right. Good game plan.
We'll see you
Thank
soon.
you. I appreciate it. See you.
And by the way, you also owe me within the next 2 weeks a mid-month report. So I don't want you to despair. I don't hear from you. Okay. We're going to put a plan. You're going to put a plan together to sell this friggin' quarry. You're going to put a plan together to sell this mall, and you're going to get an update on what you're up to, so I can follow you. Okay.
Perfect. Sounds good. I'll be in touch. Thank you, Bruce. Bye.